Breaking news: over the killing rage in Gaza, Ben Wallace cautions Israel. Ben Wallace, a former defense secretary, has warned that Israel's tactics could prolong the Gaza conflict for another half-century. The senior conservative lawmaker warned that Israel might jeopardize the legitimacy of its actions in the area in an article published in the Daily Telegraph. If Benjamin Netanyahu thinks a killing rage will rectify matters, then he is very wrong. According to him, war, according to Israel, is necessary to achieve victory. The magnitude of civilian casualties is a source of increasing international pressure, prompting Mr. Wallace, who served as defense secretary under 3 prime ministers until August, to intervene. A sustainable ceasefire is being demanded by Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron and his German counterpart in a joint article. Too many civilians have been killed is their warning. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak highlighted Israel's right to defend itself against what was an appalling terrorist attack perpetrated by Hamas when asked for his response to Mr. Wallace's article, yet it has to do it in a way that doesn't violate humanitarian law. While in Scotland, he addressed reporters and said, "We don't want to see this conflict drag on any longer than it has to." He went on to say that the number of civilian casualties is clearly too high. Israel must end its crude and indiscriminate method of attack in the Gaza Strip, Mr. Wallace warned, without demanding a truce with Hamas. In his opinion, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's policies will fuel the conflict for another 50 years, he added. His actions are radicalizing Muslim youth across the globe. According to him, much of northern Gaza has been leveled and 85% of the territory's 2.3 million inhabitants have been forced to leave their homes as a result of the Israeli offensive that followed the deadly October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas. Although some hostages were returned during a temporary truce, approximately 120 people are still believed to be held in the Gaza Strip, out of an estimated 240 who were taken hostage from Israel by Hamas. Quote, "Military pressure is necessary both for the return of hostages and for victory." He has previously stated that Israel will persist to the end in the face of mounting international pressure. Over 18,000 have lost their lives since Israel began its counterattack, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. Although targeting Hamas was justified, Mr. Wallace argued that collective punishment and forced movement of civilians and obliterating vast swathes of Gaza were not. Following the comments made by the former defense secretary, Israeli government spokesman Alan Levy described Mr. Wallace's word choice as unfortunate language on BBC Radio 4's Today program. Those responsible for the October 7 attack were being targeted by Israel, he added, and unprecedented measures to get civilians out of harm's way were being implemented. What will radicalize a new generation is if the terrorists who burned people alive and tortured children in front of their parents and raped Israeli women and girls literally get away with murder, said Mr. Levy. Nevertheless, Palestinian mission chief to the UK Husam Zomlet accused the Israeli army of normalizing the mass murder of children and women and the mass destruction of hospitals, schools, churches, mosques,